Welcome back to Anderson Acres. If you've ever raised ducks, you already know they come with plenty of personality, plenty of mud, and plenty of feathers. Lots and lots of feathers. Now, most people see that as something they just have to sweep up or compost or ignore. But today we're diving into one of the most overlooked benefits of raising your own poultry: the down and feathers you get from processing your birds. These soft little byproducts are not just unavoidable, they're incredibly useful. In fact, down is one of the warmest natural insulators in the world. And here on a small farm like ours, understanding how to use what we harvest ethically and responsibly and fully is part of good stewardship. Before we get too far in, I want to address one thing clearly. When we're talking about down and feathers for home use, we are only talking about what comes naturally from the butchering and plucking process. Never live pluck a duck or goose. It's painful, it's inhumane, and it has no place on an ethical farm. Everything we're discussing today comes from processing your birds for meat or from sweeping up feathers that have fallen off naturally. Okay? And these are things that many small homesteads already do. Once you understand that distinction, it becomes much easier to appreciate feathers not as waste, but as a final, gentle gift from the animals you raise. Duck and goose down has been treasured for centuries. Long before synthetic fibers came along, people filled their pillows, comforters, feather beds, cloaks, and even their armor padding with down, because nothing beats it for warmth to weight ratio. Down traps warm air better than nearly any other natural material, which is why slipping under a down comforter on a cold night feels like curling up inside a warm cloud. That insulating ability is something no synthetic has ever truly replaced, at least not with the same breathability and longevity. Down is light, warm, fluffy, biodegradable, and renewable. It checks nearly every box a farmer loves. Now, for those of us with small flocks, people like me and maybe like you, our birds aren't producing commercial qualities of down. A commercial operation might process thousands of birds. A small hobby farm? Maybe a dozen, maybe not even that. So while down is incredibly useful, we do need to keep our expectations realistic. One queen-sized comforter can require upwards of 2 pounds of clean down, depending on the loft and density. A single duck might yield less than an ounce. It could take years of processing to get enough for something that size. So for small flock raisers, pillows, mittens, sachets, small cushions, or even tiny quilting projects are much more realistic goals. The good news is that even small amounts of down can go a long way. A single pillow doesn't require nearly as much as a comforter. You can blend duck down with wool or cotton to stretch your supply while still getting that soft, luxurious feel. Small sewing projects like hand warmers or baby pillows, pin cushions, or even small seat pads make fantastic use of down you can collect over time. And if you're crafty, this opens a whole world of possibilities. Homemade gifts filled with down from your own flock? That's something special. It's practical, personal, and sustainable. Now let's talk for a moment about how to actually clean and store down. After plucking your ducks during processing, separate the soft down from the larger feathers. Down is the fluffy cluster beneath the outer feathers, the stuff that looks like tiny snowflakes. You can place the down in a mesh laundry bag and wash it gently with warm water and a mild, unscented soap. After rinsing, spread the down in a thin layer on a towel or screen to dry completely. And when I say completely, I mean it. Moisture is the enemy of stored down. If it's even a little damp, you risk mildew or mold. Once dry, store the down in a breathable cotton pillowcase or muslin bag. Plastic bags trap humidity and are not ideal for long-term storage. Now feathers, those beautiful, patterned, larger feathers, are an entirely different treasure. Duck feathers can be stunning. Iridescent greens and rich browns and snowy whites and charcoal grays. Mallards, cayugas, runners, pecans, they all have such different looks. And while down is meant for warmth, feathers are meant for beauty and for craft. You can clean them in the same way as down, or more simply by freezing them for a few days to kill any possible mites, and then washing them lightly with warm water and soap. Once dry, the possibilities are endless. Feathers make excellent cat toys. Just tie a few to a string, attach to a dowel, and suddenly your living room is a wildlife documentary. They're also popular for earrings and dream catchers and quill pens and hat decorations and bookmarks and ornaments and so much more. Fly tying enthusiasts love duck feathers for their flexibility and their durability. Painters sometimes use feathers as special effect brushes. And if you're into nature crafts, you already know how magical a good feather can be. Each one is like a little memory of the bird it came from. One of my favorite things about collecting feathers is that it encourages you to see your flock differently. Instead of just walking through the yard or barn thinking, oh, they're molting again, you start noticing patterns and colors and shapes. You notice the slight curve of a wing feather or the softness of a breast feather, and you see the beauty where other people see barnyard mess. Using what we already have is part of the farm mindset, and feathers are a perfect example of that. Nothing wasted, everything appreciated. Now, before you go stuffing a pillow with every feather your ducks ever lose, let's talk practicality. Only small, soft feathers and down should go into pillows or bedding. Large feathers will poke through the fabric, and if you've ever been stabbed in the cheek by a rogue quill, you know exactly what I mean. Use the fluffy stuff for filling. Save the larger ones for crafts, and always clean everything thoroughly before you use it. Another question people sometimes have is whether duck down is as good as goose down. Commercially, goose down has a reputation for higher loft, but the truth is that for home use, especially in small quantities, duck down performs beautifully. It still traps air, it still insulates, and it still gives you the warm, cozy, luxurious feel. The difference between duck and goose down matters more in high-end commercial products, not in your home-sewn winter pillow. What I love about this topic is that it takes something most small farmers overlook and turns it into value. If you raise your own meat birds, you already know how meaningful it is to use every part respectfully. We talk about bone broth and organ meats and rendered fat and composted scraps, but feathers are rarely a part of the conversation. And yet they can bring comfort, beauty, creativity, warmth, literally and figuratively. They're the final step in honoring the animals we raise. So if you're processing your own ducks or geese this year, don't throw everything into a compost pile. Take a few extra minutes to gather the down and the nicest feathers. Set them aside, clean them, store them properly, and maybe start a little future pillow jar. You'll be amazed at how quickly it adds up. And when winter rolls around and you're using something made from your own flock, it feels incredibly rewarding. That's about it for us here today at Anderson Acres. If you've ever made something out of your own flock's feathers, or if you're thinking about trying it, drop a comment and let us know what you're planning. We'll see you tomorrow.